we have this myth now that people believe in, and you know what? I believed in as well for the longest time, which is everyone tells you now we live in those echo chambers and information bubbles, and those recommender systems are giving us information that's crafted for us that somehow is making the society worse because we now know different things. Our bubbles are not fully overlapping. And I was thinking, okay, this is bad, this is bad, this is very bad because everyone says it's bad. But then I actually, in the context of those findings, started thinking about it. And look, guys, I now very strongly believe, and I did some research on that as well, that it's not bad at all. So first of all, there's absolutely no evidence. Okay, let me start differently. Humans are just, we are just destined to live in an echo chamber. It's called confirmation bias in psychology.
Right.
And it basically means that if you have a certain worldview, and then you get a new information, and this new information contradicts your worldview, is not compatible, you will have a tendency to reject it. It's not that you always reject it, but you kind of like information that confirm your worldview a bit more. Now, this is not a bad trait to have. If you didn't have it, you would be crazy. Because any new information would be like, oh, of course, this aliens, interesting, you know, lizard people running the world, very interesting. No, like, luckily, we have this like, our brains like to keep consistent mental structures there. So one of the effects is that we will have a preference for information that confirms our views, and recommender systems recognize that. So they will give us more information that confirms our views. So we kind of living, all of us live in echo chambers. But now our echo chambers today are way larger than they have ever been in the history of humankind. And let me give you an extreme example. If you were born in a little town anywhere in the world, but let's say in America, 100 years ago, you only knew what your priest or a teacher or your community told you. And guess what? 99% perhaps of that was fake news. Now you're living in a society where there's not only other people like teachers and your friends at work, our social networks are much larger, and journalists are trying to constantly give you some additional information, get you out of your very small bubble. And also algorithms also enter the race and try to give you a personalized view of the world. What happens is that your bubble is expanding. Now, in the process of the bubble expanding, they also stopped perfectly overlapping. So now, if you, David, live in your bubble, that, by the way, is larger than whatever bubble ever a human has occupied before now, and I live in my growing bubble, but our bubbles grow apart, which sometimes makes me aware, oh my God, he's in a different bubble. Information bubble, tragedy, tragedy. Now, if you lived in Soviet Russia, you were never able to look at people who had different information bubbles. So you never thought about it. You never thought, oh my God, information bubbles. You were just happy and content living in this small, tiny echo chamber.